Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. So happy to have you here. I see so many people joining us. That is so exciting. We are going to start momentarily. I'm thrilled to welcome you all here today. I'm Sarah Spagnolo. I'm here at the Stash office in New York City. I'm managing editor, head of brand here at Stash. Our webinar today is one in an ongoing series that we host on topics that will motivate, inspire, and empower you all to invest in yourself and achieve your goals. And today we have stellar guests from the 49ers. The 49ers are an incredible team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl this year. 8 Super Bowls in 79 seasons, winning 5 and being home to the absolutely amazing football talent, including Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Joe Montana, plus current players Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Deebo Samuels, our quarterback Brock Purdy. The list goes on. The 49ers had the most team members on the NFL's top players of 2023 list with 8. They are also amongst the first to have a director of player engagement in Austin Moss II, who plays a critical role in welcoming new players and especially rookies to the team. As a faithful fan myself, how do you like that? It was an absolute rocking good time to see the team go all the way this year. And you know what we say at Stash, it's all about investing in yourself. I'm so glad that the players and coaches did it every day on behalf of all of us who got to watch and enjoy and be so darn proud of the effort. With that, I'm absolutely honored to welcome Austin Moss II, Senior Director of Player Affairs and Development of the San Francisco 49ers.
Thank you, Sarah. Happy to be here.
The first topic I want to touch on is what it takes to win and be successful. So at Stash, we talk a lot about having a dedication and commitment to invest in yourself for the long term. You've talked about accountability. You've talked about focus. The very nature of Austin, your program helps to set up players and rookies for ongoing success. As part of the back office team, the ones charged with making the NFL experience truly feel like one big family for all the players and their families, what is one tangible skill that you want to impart to those new players as they start their journey with the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to work with talented athletes, to watch these guys and have a part in helping develop them and achieve, our team goals and their personal goals is really rewarding. So in doing that, when we get our rookies, when they first get to our team and we're ingraining them in our culture, it may seem simple, but, one of the first things I truly tell them to do is to take notes. And you have an opportunity to come into this environment and to learn from the people that have done it, at the highest level. It's nothing better that a rookie can do than sit down on our classroom sessions and our film studies and take notes and ask questions. And then in addition to that, be coachable. So those are some of the early principles we talk about with our rookies in terms of how you can make this team and sustain a career in the NFL, is that you have to take notes, you have to study, because everybody in this league is athletically gifted. Like, the physical traits are all there for everybody, but the ones that excel master the game from the neck up. And in order to do that, you have to take notes, come in every day with a focused mindset, having a routine, being disciplined, and again, being coachable, being able to learn from others and take that advice so you can start to apply it in your own way.
I was going to ask for a clarification on what does it mean to be coachable, but I think you've gotten into that a little bit. Do you have anything more to say on that topic? It seems like such a smart thing to think about in all aspects of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, it applies to players. It applies to your accountant, to all of us as regular, people in our lives. Like, nobody knows it all, right? You have to be, what I tell rookies is be humble and be hungry. And in order to be hungry, that means you have to have a thirst and an appetite for knowledge. So in order to get that knowledge, you have to be willing to be coached. And that means, hey, if your boss or somebody's telling you something, don't have them coach you on the same principles, 3 or 4 times, because that's how you can lose your job quickly if we have to tell you the same things over and over to correct you. So when we say be humble and be hungry, come in with a good attitude, ready to work, but be willing to learn and listen to the experts, whether it's a coach, a veteran player, and again, at your job, whether it's your boss, a mentor. Take that advice down, write notes and study it, and then apply it in your daily routine.
So related to that, we have a 12-year-old fan who I think may be joining us today, Ty. He sent me an email earlier today and asked what books, content, or steps should he take to be an incredible coach or back office staff at an NFL team. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Oh man, there's a ton of great books out there. There's a legendary coach from the 49ers named Bill Walsh. He has a ton of great books out there. I forget the title of the first one, but that's Bill Walsh. I think it's like Building a Winning Formula. That's definitely one dedicated to football and team and strategy. And then for me personally, I'm definitely into the self-help. So a couple things that I have read. Make Your Bed First. That's a small little book by General William McRaven, who was a U.S. Navy SEAL. But that really talks about creating a routine and being disciplined and the principles they talk about in the Navy SEALs. So I have a ton of different book recommendations, but those are definitely two that I like. And then the third one I would say is Leaders Eat Last, and that's by Simon Sinek.
Austin, do you have any specific strategies for helping people who might not have that internal motivation? What do you recommend for them?
So yeah, I mean, in order to achieve your goals, and again, you got to have perseverance and to develop that grit. It really is like your passion and perseverance applied to your long-term goals. So what I try to tell myself and our young men is that you have to have a why. Like your intrinsic motivation is going to be way more indicative to your success than extrinsic motivation. So if you're just worried about external things like how many followers you have on social media, buying a nice house or a big car, like all those things lack substance and they're just extrinsic things. But when you know your why and you can understand what your purpose is in order to achieve those goals when times get tough, and to remind yourself, like that's what helps you, develop that grit and perseverance long term. So being intrinsically motivated is super critical in our lane, and then for anybody else, because there will be some times where it gets tough and you have to again remind yourself, I'm doing this to create a better life for my family and get them out of a tough financial situation. Or I'm doing this because people doubted me and they never thought that I was smart enough. They never thought I was good enough to get this type of opportunity. So when you can have that intrinsic motivation to push yourself when times get tough, that's what helps you develop that grit over time.
What characteristics do you think, Austin, best define athletes and leaders? And how might those same characteristics apply to how you live your life outside of football? I mean, you talked about grit and perseverance. We've talked about that a fair amount. But are there any other characteristics that you think are really important, particularly when you meet new players or rookies in the league?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the first characteristics that come to mind are work ethic. You have to work hard to accomplish what you want, and commitment. You have to be committed to, becoming great. I was not the best athlete in the world, but I was fortunate. I played college football and I wanted to be an NFL athlete. But even in my personal journey, when I knew I couldn't become an NFL player, I knew I wanted to work in the front office of an NFL organization. So those same type of principles apply, and having the work ethic and commitment to achieve that goal. And then for our players here, like we've developed a standard and we hold each other accountable to that standard. I think that's something that all professionals can do. Like, what is your standard? Like, I know every single time those players that you mentioned, the Christian McCaffreys, Fred Warners, like Nick Bosa, like they have a standard of how they operate and go about their day every single day. Like they've created a routine. So I know what time they get to the facility. They're consistent every single day in doing that. I know when they're eating breakfast. I know when they're getting an extra lift in, when they're doing extra film work. So they've created a standard of excellence for themselves, and they hold themselves personally accountable to that. And then us as a team for the 49ers, we have a standard that we hold our players to in terms of, what you see on the field. So things that helped us get to the Super Bowl. You'll notice like on our offense, like our wide receivers are some of the best blocking wide receivers in the NFL. Like when they don't have the ball, like they still are challenged, and we require them to give their best effort to block for the person who does have the ball. That's something that you don't see on every single team, and that's a standard we've created here. On defense, we've been ranked, in the NFL as a top defense for the last 3 years. And that's a standard we've created in terms of running to the ball and playing physically. Like, even if you're on the backside of a play, like you may not think you're involved, but you have to sprint and get there as fast as you possibly can, because you never know. We may be able to punch the ball out. We could force a turnover. You may be able to get a tip and overthrow. We say we got to get those. So all those elements go into leading yourself at a high level and then leading our team, because we've created a standard of performance and we've held ourselves accountable to that to achieve that success.
I know you hold yourself to that same level of accountability also, and you put in the time and the effort. What is your intrinsic motivation that you bring to the table every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know I'm from a small town in Kentucky. I did not, I came from humble beginnings. 9 of us in a 3-bedroom house. I wanted to create the best life for myself and my family, but also too, like I was always doubted growing up. I was never the smartest, the fastest, the tallest, but I had an intrinsic internal drive to say, hey, like I'm going to prove to myself that I can do something, and then I'm going to prove to the others that didn't believe in me that I was capable of doing it. So just waking up and trying to develop that, discipline and mindset is definitely a mindset that you have to develop over time, because there were times where I doubted myself, where I didn't perform to my expectations. But then, like, how do you get up the next day and try to, have that same vigor and excitement and reapply yourself to achieving that goal? So that's something that has been a big part of my journey. So that perseverance and work ethic, and then building strong relationships to be successful.
That's such important and wise words. I mean, we see that so much within the values of Stash, which talk all about investing in yourself and thinking about yourself over the long term and bringing your best self to the table every day, whether that's putting aside just $5 or $30 or whatever you can afford for your future life and to allow you to achieve your dreams. Related to that, I want to move a little bit to money. It's such an important and big topic, of course, but how do you think about money? How do the players think about money? Is that what motivates them to come to work every day, or do you think it's more than that? How do you think the world of the pro football and NFL? If you can speak to that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. It's a privilege to be able to work in this space with high net worth earners. Obviously, these guys are high performers and excellent at their job, but everybody's relationship to money is different. So you may come from a 2-parent home where you were taught how to save, you were taught what investing looks like, and you have a strong foundation in comparison to another player who may have not had that same type of support. And he's only thing he's known is like, hey, money is what I use to buy my clothes and get food. And I didn't have much growing up, but I know that's what I need. So when your relationship is different, you have to educate everybody on those principles to say, okay, like what is budgeting? Like what is, healthy, money management? What are those things? And then what are some poor money management habits that may have been created that you didn't even know you have? So I get the opportunity to level set with all of our incoming players and assess where they are from a financial education standpoint. And again, by no means, let me say this disclaimer, I'm not here to give any investment advice or anything from that nature, but I know that I have resources to be able to equip them with the education to set them up with a strong foundation in terms of creating a budget, understanding, their taxes and different things that they have to adhere to as an NFL and a professional athlete, and then talk to them about goals and how we can create, a healthy financial lifestyle in order to achieve the goals. So it's a daily process, though. Again, and even me, like I use a lot of different resources to track my money, and then we talk about, hey, okay, once you get it, it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. So that's a strong principle that I drive with these guys every single day. Like it doesn't matter if you make 9 million a year, if your spending is 8.7 million a year, you're just as broke as the person that's making 50,000 and spending the same amount. So we talk about that and your money mindset and your relationship to it very consistently.
That's so aligned to our values as well, and so I want to thank you for bringing that to the forefront and recognizing that no matter who you are or what amount of money you make, it's all about how you think about it and how you apply those really important foundational financial literacy skills to your daily life. So Austin, the program that you have set up, it has 4 focus areas, financial literacy being one, and we talked about that a little bit, also total health and wellness, personal and character development, and continued education. I've heard that some of what drives you and some of your motivation that maybe you had intrinsically since you were born, but that's you've grown over time and in your career, is about seeing some of the players finish their college degrees and secure the contracts that might have been out of reach for them at the outset. So you've talked about the budgeting aspects and some of those lessons that you teach. How do you think people benefit from this program? And can you talk about some of those success stories that you might be willing to share?
it's a matter of educating yourself. So hopefully everybody that's within this platform and on this webinar right now is, taking the time to understand their financial situation, investing, saving, creating different buckets so you can, build your portfolio the right way. And then the really cool part is really taking players that may not have had any money and helping them set up to create generational wealth for their family. That's one of the most rewarding things for me. Like, if you all, are familiar with the NFL and the numbers, like the average career is 3 years. So that means by the time you're 24 to 25 to 26 years old, you'll be doing something other than playing football. So it's a very short window in order for you to be this high net worth earner. So you really have to protect it. And what I tell these guys, like, you have to grow your chicken before you give anybody else an egg, if that makes sense. So you can't, just because you make it to the NFL in your first year, you can't buy your mom a car, you can't buy your mom and dad a new house, and then you want to buy a Benz or a G-Wagon. You can't be the jewelry guy, you can't be the fashion guy, because then you end up with this consumer mindset, and you're spending everything that's coming in. So we talk about that, not trying to keep up with the Joneses, because if you get fortunate enough to get that second contract after your fourth year, then we can start to like expand some of our margins and things that we do. But those first, 1 to 4 years within the NFL are so critical for you. And psychologically, it's really challenging in the sense that everybody on the outside thinks you're making, Patrick Mahomes money, $50 million a year, which is not the case. So when you're a rookie in the NFL, like the league minimum this year is going to be $760,000, and that's great. But the tax rate is going to cut that in half, and then in the state of California, where we are, it's a 13.3% tax rate, state tax rate. So that 760 gets cut drastically. So you really have to be mindful about that. And if you're only making that for 3 years, then you got to make sure you take advantage. So that's a long way of saying we talk about this daily and what goes into it, because you have to display a lot of self-control and not have to fall into that instant gratification and be like, oh, I've arrived now that I'm a professional athlete, because one, it can be gone very, very quickly. And then two, you really have to create some guardrails so you can achieve your long-term financial goals. And that's what this, I'm sure applications like Stash, have such good processes and education to help you do that. And that's what I get inspired and fulfilled about.
You know so much, Austin, about financial literacy. Where did you learn all of this?
It's fortunate because I get to bring in some of the best experts in the U.S. and the world to educate our players. So I said, like, take notes and be coachable. When I'm in the sessions, I'm taking just as many notes as the players. So I'm learning a lot too. Like, again, I didn't come from a family that, and especially in Black families, we don't talk about money a lot. We don't talk about credit. We just say, hey, like, save all your money and don't go into debt. But like, truly, what is your income to debt ratio, and what is an asset versus a liability? All these certain things that I take pride in educating a lot of our players, because we don't necessarily have these conversations. So during my rookie development program, we have continued financial educations that are required. The NFL has 12 mandated sessions. 4 of them must be financial literacy. So all NFL players are getting this education. And then we have second and third year financial literacy programming for players that go into their second and third year in the NFL. So I have to give a shout out to the league too for making it an emphasis to say, hey, like, we're going to require our players as employees to go through this educational training.
Absolutely. That sounds like the NFL is far and away above some of the public school systems that we have in this country, unfortunately, who are woefully inadequate about teaching our young people about financial literacy. So that's great to know. Andrea was asking a question that was similar to what I had, which is just like in football and investing, no one has the crystal ball, and there's always setbacks that we experience in our lives. So Andrea wants to know, how do you help players get back on track that you are seeing make big money mistakes?
Yeah. So in order to create any type of change, you have to build a relationship and build trust. So first I say, hey, like, finances are a very personal matter to talk about. So I have to let that player know that I'm not trying to, judge you for any mistakes that you've made. I'm just here to help create you and help create solutions and set you up for success. So building that trust so we can ease their fears and concerns to truly understand where they are. And then we have an honest conversation about, okay, like, what are your expenses, or like what how much debt have you accrued? And then we'll look at it. What are some things that we can clean up? I have a credit expert who can, take some things and say, all right, like, this is how we got to clean up credit card debt. This is how we have to take these delinquent things off your file. So experts in that space to refer these players to. And then I know here in our 49ers locker room, I take pride in having panel discussions with our active players to where we have peer-to-peer conversations. So I can bring in Eric Armstead, who's had, 3 contracts and has done really well with his money, or Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, like guys that not only are they the best in this business at what they do, but they've set themselves up financially to take care of themselves and their families. So what better way for Fred Warner to say, hey, man, like, somebody in my family asked me for $100,000 too. And this is how I had to set up guardrails to say no and not feel guilty, because there's an emotional attachment. Like, it could be your mom asking you for that amount of money. So like, how do you say no to your mom, right? Who took you to practice when you were 6 years old, who, was cheering for you in your game. That's a very hard conversation to have. So we do a lot of things to talk about how we can, put up guardrails to protect our money, and then ways to circumvent some of the challenges that come when people are asking, or decisions that you've made, and try to correct those, like buying a $50,000 chain when you shouldn't have got that.
All right, here's some other related questions. How is psychology or motivation for the team after losing an important game, says Eduardo.
That's a great question. One I've definitely been reflecting on. So it's interesting, going to the Super Bowl. I just finished my 6th season with the 49ers, and fortunate, like, I've been in 2 Super Bowls, 2019 and then this past year, and 3 NFC championships on top of that. So within a 6-year span, like, that's an incredible run. And I'm really proud of what we've built as an organization and a team.
Congratulations, by the way, on behalf of all of us here. So really
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. So it's a blessing to be a part of. And then, when you get to your ultimate goal and you actually end up not reaching it and you fail, that's a really, really hard thing to kind of overcome. And what's had to happen is we've all collectively had to, like, zoom out and say, okay, we didn't execute and do what we needed to do. So we lost, and you have to accept that. But when you zoom out and you think about in life, like, it's more than, like, football is a game. Like, of course you want to be a world champion, but there's so much more in life. There's people out here right now that are battling cancer. There's people that are out here battling, like, lifelong diseases. So when I can, like, zoom out and be like, you know what? Yeah, we lost the Super Bowl. It sucked. But, like, if the sun comes up tomorrow and I'm fortunate enough to wake up, I have another day to go out and try to get better and attack this dream all over again. So what more can you ask for than just continued opportunity? And I truly believe that you learn so much more in your failures than what you do in your successes. And that's how you become a better person. Like, your experiences in life will help you shape who you are. And I know every single person that was on that team and that's still here will be stronger from it, will get better from it. And then you have to get back up, knock yourself off, even when you don't achieve what you thought you were going to, and get back on the horse and try again. And that's all you can do every single day.
Those are truly words to live by, Austin. Thank you for sharing that with us. Nate wants to know, where do you see your path in player engagement taking you? You clearly have so much incredible leadership skills. What do you think your future will look like?
I'm excited to continue to grow as a professional. I'm always looking to gain new skill sets. So right now I get to, help develop a roster of 70 to 90 athletes on a consistent basis and create culture, help contribute to high performance. So this is a really cool role right now, and I'm really thankful to be in it. But my ultimate aspiration is to be a leader of an organization. So whether that's a general manager or team president, I'm trying to align myself in that, in terms of, creating more skill sets for strategy and how we're developing our roster and different decisions. So that's my personal aspiration. Not sure, where it's going to go, but I'm going to continue to do my best at what has been afforded to me in this responsibility. And then I'll look to grow in leadership and hopefully get more responsibility to create strategy and influence change within our organization. and see where the opportunities go. But that would be my ultimate goal, to grow in sports as a leader and be the head of a team.
Well, I love that for you. And so does Vikram here, who has a similar question. So leadership styles, he says, can vary greatly and have different effects on team dynamics and individual performance. From your experience, what key qualities make an effective leader, and how do you cultivate them in the athletes that you work with?
Yeah, great question. I just was on a little case study that we did for all of our player engagement directors in the league. Is actually a Harvard business case study, and it was on the Formula One team, Mercedes, in sports racing. And it's by Total Wolf, and he came and really revamped the Mercedes team. And in short, I'll tell you, this is what I took away from it, and my philosophy on leadership is that, like, leadership is fluid in terms of, like, sometimes you have to be a very hands-on leader, and sometimes you have to be a laissez-faire, and you have to have the self-awareness and understanding, when to press and when not to. And he did that within those situations to help those teams win. But the most important thing I drew out of that case study, and what I see even what we do with the 49ers, is a philosophy. It says, see it, say it, fix it. So in anything that you're trying to accomplish, whether you're a business leader or a team, like, you have to identify problems, see it, and then you have to be willing to hold yourself and people accountable to it. So you have to say it, and then you just put the team together to fix it. And that's what happened with us. Like, this past season, we started out 5-0. Everybody was telling us how good we were, and then we lost 3 games straight. So we went from being the talk of the league at 5-0, and then losing 3, and then people are like, oh, they're not as good as they thought they were. And so we had to, really look at that and say, all right, see it, say it, fix it. Like, what are the things that we're not doing well? Recognize that from a film standpoint, call it out in our team meeting, hold everybody accountable to what that is and what the standard is, and then identify together how we can fix it from a strategy and a scheme standpoint. So that's been a really cool structure and system that I've seen within our organization. I saw it within that case study in Total Wolf, but like any leadership, like, you all have to be able to say, all right, this is what we're doing at an optimal level really well. These are our challenges, our weaknesses. Let's acknowledge those and then find a way that we can get them better. And then you have to do that throughout the continuum of the season, because just because you start out in September really good doesn't mean you're going to be really good in January. And you have to be able to find a way to keep getting better and better and better every single day. So that's the process.
That's true in football and in life. My line of work as well, and I'm sure everybody else is here. We have a couple questions about overcoming obstacles, and I think that relates to a question about that Delia had about how can we get started if we have limited funds. So people have challenges in their lives. Maybe they don't feel like they have enough to get started. What would be your advice or guidance for that?
Man, I had a great quote from my mentor that I still speak to so consistently. And he told me that small stacks make big stacks. And I am true to this, like, to my core, in the sense that, like, when I got my MBA and finished my college career as an athlete, like, I moved to New York City to work for the NFL league office for $12 an hour. You all know, in New York City, $12 an hour does not get you very far. And I wasn't making much money, but I was trying to get my, career started, and I was grinding, etc. But I kept having that in my mind. Small stacks make big stacks. Small stacks make big stacks. So even with the little margin that I was making, I tried to manage that responsibly. And again, like, putting $20 away in an account, even if it's $20 a month, it's going to grow. And then eventually, like, you may get a little bump, you may get a bonus, you may get a promotion, or you get a new job and you get another pay rate. And then your margin to save may go from $20 to $200. So again, continue to build that, and hopefully you don't have to dip into it. But you can take those savings and put those in certain accounts. You can invest it. And then again, on my returns, that, the small returns, if I'm getting 20% off $200, then I would put that into another thing. So again, it's just over time trying to be smart with what you get, and then look for opportunities to grow as a professional so you can earn more money. That's something that I was really thankful for. And then if you're young enough, like I said, if you're 12 years old, 14 years old, man, what an incredible time to start. Like, there's so many different things that you can do. Like, instead of going to buy the new Jordans that just came out, or maybe that new PS, 6 that's going to come out eventually, Like, think about ways that you can, start to grow your money and put it in things that are going to bring back value instead of being a depreciating asset.
Fanny, I think that answers your question. You were asking for 2 to 3 basic steps, and I think small stacks make big stacks is a great recommendation, and very much in line with the Stash way and our Stash philosophy. Austin, I want to change gears for 1 second. So you have the first ever NFL emotional support dog. Is that true?
Yes, yes. Her name is Zoe, a little Frenchie.
So can you tell us a little bit about the various aspects of originality that you bring to your role here? And I say that through the lens of a lot of people are asking questions about what got you to this role. How can they get a role like that? I know that you bring creativity and outside the box thinking. Can you talk a little bit about your career trajectory and what you got you here?
Um, I stand on the shoulder of giants. Like, a lot of people poured into me, and again, I tell people my prosperity is connected to people. I took the time to develop strong relationships and make sure that, again, I found a mentor, somebody that's credible and successful, that was doing something that I wanted to do, and I just asked if I could learn. Like, will you teach me? Show me how I can be set up for success. What skills do I need to acquire to, be successful? So I had to get the education and get the opportunity to show my skills. And then once I got in the league office, I was, again, the work ethic from as an athlete, it translates. I was like, I'm gonna be the first one here and I'm gonna be the last one to leave. Even though I'm making $12 an hour, like, at least I'll hang out with some good people that are running this business and I can learn from them and just soak up knowledge. So having a work ethic. And then I took pride in putting out quality work. It's one thing to do work, but like, your work has to be quality and you have to stand out. So there's so many people that want to work in sports specifically. So, like, what differentiates you? So I had to say, okay, this is what makes Austin Moss different and what I bring to the table. What value can you add? So developing that mindset of, like, work ethic for one, excellence being the bare minimum in terms of, like, anything that I do, I'm going to make sure it's done at a high level. And then as I've started to work and do those things, it was about, again, adding value and being innovative and creative. So that's where Zoe came in as the emotional support animal. We had a player who was going through a really tough time. Sister had just passed away. She committed suicide, unfortunately, and he was grieving. And then there was a situation where a dog was in our office for a day of a coworker, and then he came to me and said, "Hey man, like, is there a way we can get one in here full time?" And I said, you know what? Like, I don't know, but I'm going to ask because it is a great idea. And there's medical research that shows that there's serotonin that's released in the brain through emotional support animals to connect. And this is a very high stress environment. So putting the science behind it and giving it to the owner of the 49ers and my boss, the general manager, John Lynch, saying, hey, like, this is the thing, like, there's a need here in terms of, we have players that are going through injuries, they're high stress, they struggle with anxiety, depression, performance. So this system or solution will help us, and it'll create to more wins because we're going to have players that are getting the support that they need emotionally to feel comfortable and be the best versions of themselves when they're going through dark times. So that's the long way of saying, hey, think outside the box, be creative, always look for ways to add value to a company and like something that maybe not be that may not exist. And then don't be afraid to ask, try to put it in front. And I'm very thankful that our ownership and my boss was receptive of it. And we've seen tremendous impact from having an emotional support animal in this environment, because it truly does benefit our players. And in my opinion, it helps create a better performance.
You have such wisdom, and it sounds like you've had incredible mentors who have helped you become who you are and the important asset that you are to the 49ers. Who has helped you think through some of these things? You've mentioned mentors sort of generally, but is there a person who suggested that you should save no matter what? Are there very specific people who have been important to you?
Yeah, I think I would start with my parents. I'm very, thankful to have two loving parents that have poured into me, Austin Moss Sr. and Teresa Moss. And then as I got out and got to grow as a professional, it started with graduate school at Central Florida, where I got my MBA and Master's in Sport Management. The chairman and head of that program was Dr. Richard Lapchick, who's considered one of the best leaders in sport in terms of bringing racial and social equity. So fighting for African Americans, for women to get more jobs in sports in the front office. So I learned a lot from him as a humanitarian and giving back to people and what that means and how to, create change and influence in the sport landscape. And then another one of my biggest mentors as well would be Troy Vincent, who is the executive vice president of football operations at the NFL league office. He played in the NFL for 15 years, incredible career and an incredible man. That's who I first started working for, and he's continued to pour into me. So those are people within my sports realm. And then again, I find a mentor that's doing something well. Like again, from a financial standpoint, like find somebody that is doing well with their money. And that doesn't mean they have like the outward things, like, they're stunting and they have a lot of like material things, but like who has like a true good portfolio, or who online that you can learn from a podcast in terms of investing. Like Warren Buffett is not, I don't know him personally, but I know I listen and try to get advice from him from the podcast and the different things out there, because he's done it well at a very high level. So education and experience are life's greatest teachers, and I'm always seeking that knowledge and wisdom to get it. So those are a few of the mentors that's poured into me, and I'm extremely grateful for them.
Well, you've preemptively answered one of my last questions, which is what money advice you would give to your younger self. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that answer?
Younger money advice. I would just say, like, it's so hard in America because they really do teach us to have this consumer mindset. Like, oh man, you got to get the next new thing. You got to get this and that. And I would tell my younger self, like, hey, like, you only get your necessities. Like, you don't have to necessarily have to keep up with the Joneses or always want, the next new item that comes out just because they're marketing it to you. So those ads you see, like, they're there for a reason. So I would tell myself that, and then just educating myself on credit. I think a lot of us that don't come from wealth and money, we have to go into debt in order, like, again, to college. Like, you have to go into debt to go to college. You have to go into debt to buy a house, to do a lot. So just really understanding what good debt is versus bad debt, and not living outside your means. Like, you shouldn't take a credit card and go buy, again, something that you can't really pay for right now. If you don't have the cash in your account to do it, don't use a credit card to go get it, because then you're going to be paying interest, and that's how they keep you in this system, in this cycle for so long. So I would tell myself those two things, and then to start a Roth IRA as soon as I could, and save and invest.
Excellent advice. All right, last question. What should we all know about big dreams?
Ooh, big dreams. I would say shoot for the stars for sure. Dream as big as you possibly can. I'm a living proof that, again, a kid from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, to be the director of player development for the 49ers, never knew and thought that it could happen. I had a passion and desire in my heart, and I hope there's more for me than just this, but I'm so thankful for this moment. So dream as big as you possibly can, and just remember, one step at a time. Like, I didn't get here overnight. There's beauty in the struggle. Like, there's times where I doubted myself. There's times where I cried myself to sleep because I didn't think it was going to happen, or I didn't perform well as an intern and I thought I was going to get fired. Like, no, like, believe in yourself, bet on yourself, and do everything you can to put yourself in the best position to succeed. So those are the things that I've tried to apply in my life in terms of work ethic. And again, whatever, if it was taking the trash out as an intern, I made sure I took it out so good it was clean. Like, if there was a bottle on the ground, like, all those things go into who you are as a person. And in our locker room here, it says, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. So whether it's, like, again, keeping your house clean, waking up, taking care of your body, working out, staying in shape, building, good self, like, confidence and feeling good about yourself, all those things will snowball into you being successful and accomplishing your goals on a daily basis. But it happens, again, one step at a time. It doesn't happen overnight, and just keep working.
One step at a time. Austin, you are amazing. Thank you for spending the afternoon and evening with us. That's about a wrap. So thank you again so much for taking the time. I want to thank everyone who came. And as a reminder, this information we shared today is purely educational. We're not providing any financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. Thank you all for coming. Look out for more invites from us on our next webinar on topics that you care about, whether that's money, advice, or setting yourself up for success. Again, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope everybody's well, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. God bless. Go Niners.
Thank you, Austin. put my hat back on.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Love it.
Have a wonderful afternoon and evening. Bye.